gallery in Las Vegas, and this gallery has some original Sendak artwork. We're talking where the wild things are.
Maurice Sendak's Wild Gamble, $250,000 for a children's sketchbook. Rick Harrison has dropped serious money before. Vintage cars, Civil War weapons, signed guitars, but nothing came close to this. He paid $250,000 for a bunch of pencil drawings. No gold, no gemstones, no rare presidential document, just 12 pieces of paper from a children's book. And yet that move went down as the biggest single payout in Pawn Stars history.
I'm really excited right now. I definitely want to see it, and if the price is right, I want to buy it.
It all unfolded in Season 15's Can't Pawn Me Love. Rick walked into a local gallery in Las Vegas looking for what looked like a simple art portfolio. A dozen original sketches by Maurice Sendak, the legendary author and illustrator of Where the Wild Things Are. These weren't reproductions. These were the real deal hand-drawn concept pieces from one of the most beloved children's books of all time.
These are amazing illustrations from Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. This is totally amazing.
That is cool.
Sendak's work had been a cultural milestone since 1963. The characters, Max in his wolf suit, the crown, the wild rumpus, had shaped the imagination of generations. Owning even one original drawing would be like owning a Picasso from your childhood. The seller claimed the entire set was worth $375,000.
When I was a kid, I was fascinated by the pictures.
Yep, me too.
It was something about the way he painted everything. It was so different than any other children's book.
And you look at all of the detail and the cross-hatching, which was signature Maurice Sendak.
Rick called in an expert who pegged the potential auction price around $310,000, provided the right buyer was out there. But this wasn't a guaranteed win. Original art is one of the hardest things to move in the pawn world. It's not liquid. You can't just melt it down like gold. There are no standard prices. You're gambling on demand from elite collectors. Still, Rick stared at the sketches, each one perfectly preserved, and whispered, "I can't believe I'm doing this." Then handed over $250,000 in cash. No consignment, no backup plan. Just faith in the value of nostalgia.
I figure for the collection, realistically, I think you can probably get about $310,000 to collectors.
Okay, I'll let you know what happens.
All right, good luck to you.
See you later, Chad.
I think they're amazing. They really are some of the greatest art I've ever seen. I'll tell you what, I'll give you 200 grand.
That's low.
This deal wasn't just a financial stretch, it was an emotional one. Rick didn't grow up reading Where the Wild Things Are, but he understood the legacy. This was more than art, it was cultural currency. The kind of thing you don't buy because it's profitable. You buy it because it means something. To collectors, to readers, to families who still pass the book down today. But here's what the show didn't reveal. Rick had no buyer lined up, no museum waiting in the wings, he bought it cold. And that's where the real gamble began. Because as much as people love Sendak, not everyone is willing to pay 6 figures for his sketches. For Rick, it was a leap, and one that could have ended in a serious loss.
It's like one of the coolest things I ever bought.
Thank you.
Bring them down to the shop, we'll do all the paperwork. They're amazing, man. Now you know where the wild things are. I own them.
Still, it remains the most expensive item ever purchased on Pawn Stars, a move that showed Rick is willing to throw down for more than gold. Sometimes, history is worth the risk. Next up, Rick bets big on silver and walks a tightrope between solid investment and potential meltdown. The 3,372-ounce silver hoard that nearly sank the shop.
A whole lot of silver. Let me help you out real quick. The old man is crazy about silver. He's gonna be like a kid on Christmas morning when he sees this.
It looked like something out of a pirate movie, a rolling cart stacked high with metal bricks, shimmering under the pawn shop lights. Bar after bar of silver, coins bundled in bags, a treasure trove that tipped the scales at over 200 pounds. That's 3,372 troy ounces of pure silver. And Rick? He didn't blink. He's ready to make one of the boldest plays of his career.
I came to the pawn shop today to sell my silver. I have over 3,000 ounces. Growing up, my dad always taught me to invest, and so I'm here today to cash in on that investment. If they want less than face value, well, we'll see what we can work out.
The seller wheeled in a mountain of bullion, claiming it was the real deal. No fillers, no fakes. Rick had seen scams before. He'd bought silver bars in the past, only to find out later they were filled with steel, lead, or worse. This time, he wasn't taking chances. He had his team drill straight into the bars, a test no fraud could pass. When clean cores came up on every sample, the green light was on.
You know, it's all silver coin.
Okay.
It's really important for me to scan all the edges on these to make sure there's no modern coins in here. When you look at an edge of a quarter or a dime today, you see copper and nickel.
But even with confirmed purity, this wasn't a sure thing. Rick knew all too well. Precious metals don't guarantee profit. Silver is one of the most unpredictable assets out there. Back in the late 90s, silver dipped as low as $3 an ounce. Just before this deal, it had soared to around $30. That kind of volatility could make or break a deal. If the price dropped just a few bucks, the shop could lose thousands. This was less a pawn deal and more a stock market gamble, just in physical form.
And when they make them this big, they don't make them in odd weights.
So you're saying this might not be pure silver?
What I'm saying is there might be a chunk inside that's not pure silver.
Can we test this thing?
Yeah, drill a few holes in it, take the shavings out, melt them down, make sure it's all silver. Give me a few minutes, if everything checks out, I'll pay you.
What made this one so nerve-wracking? There was no backstory, no famous owner, no historical edge, just weight, purity, and the day's metal prices. It was pure math. And Rick doesn't usually like math without some cushion, but in this case, he ran the numbers and made a snap decision. $111,000 on the table, full buyout. No haggling, no hesitation, just a straight trade, money for metal.
You got $46,000 for the coins, $33,390 for these bars right here. 32.39 times 942 equals. So we got a total of $110,901.
There was a method to the madness. Rick understood that in the uncertain world of collectibles, bullion is one of the few things you can actually bank on. It's not flashy, it doesn't tell a story, but silver is universal. It's traded globally, and in a worst-case scenario, Rick could always flip it wholesale, even if it meant breaking even or taking a minor loss. But make no mistake, this deal could have tanked the shop's liquidity. If silver dropped even by 20%, Rick would be sitting on thousands in losses with nothing but bricks to show for it. That's the razor's edge this deal walked. The market held, but it easily could have gone the other way, and that's what made it one of the riskiest six-figure bets in the shop's history.
111 sounds good to me.
All right, it's deal, 111.
I'm really glad my dad taught me to invest, because today I'm walking out with over $100,000.
I'm gonna take one of these, Rick.
No, you're not.
Come on.
In the end, Rick trusted the weight of silver over hype and headlines. But the tension behind that handshake? You could cut it with a blade. Speaking of tension, Rick stumbled upon a holy grail of a guitar. And that's coming right up. Stephen Stills' 1941 Gibson SJ-200, $85,000 for a piece of the 60s.
Hey, how's it going, man?
I'm pretty good. What can I help you with?
Got a piece of rock and roll history for you here.
Okay.
Guitars are basic items at the pawn shop, but when this one came in, it was more than just another instrument. It was a rock and roll legend. A 1941 Gibson SJ-200, owned by none other than Stephen Stills of Crosby, Stills and Nash. It wasn't just a guitar. This was a piece of the 1960s, an era defined by protest music, peace anthems, and iconic bands. And now, it was sitting in Rick Harrison's hands, waiting to be appraised.
This is a 1941 Gibson SJ-200. It was owned by Stephen Stills of the band Crosby, Stills and Nash.
That is cool. I feel like I'm in the movie Pulp Fiction and they open up the briefcase.
In Season 10's Smarty Pants, the seller walked in with this stunning instrument, one that had history and sound, all wrapped in a beautifully aged body. The SJ-200 wasn't just any guitar, it was a pre-war Gibson, a top-of-the-line model that was only produced in limited numbers before World War II shut down production. This was the holy grail of guitars for collectors, and to make it even more valuable, it was linked to Stephen Stills, the Buffalo Springfield member who co-wrote For What It's Worth, and then went on to shape the sound of Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Guitar player, played for Buffalo Springfield. What It's Worth, that was the name of the song. I mean, literally, it was considered the rebellion hippie anthem of the 1960s. If you heard the song, you would remember it. Went on to create Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Rick wasn't just looking at a guitar, he was looking at history. This wasn't a simple instrument, it was a rock artifact. Stills was the first person ever inducted twice into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, once with Buffalo Springfield and again with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. The guitar came with documentation proving its provenance, showing it was purchased from Stills' personal collection. The seller was hoping to make a hefty profit, asking for $110,000 for this musical relic.
His music helped literally shape part of a nation. And you have like documentation, this was Stephen Stills?
I do have the bill of sale, so when he sold it to the collector that bought it from him, he signed a bill of sale. I have that.
Rick knew this could be the deal of a lifetime, but he had to be careful. Guitar pricing isn't always straightforward, especially when it's tied to a famous musician. Is it the guitar's sound, its history, or the celebrity ownership that drives the price up? Rick needed more insight, so he called in Jesse Amoroso, his trusted guitar expert, to take a closer look and provide a professional evaluation.
I would absolutely love to get my hands on this guitar. It's beautiful, it's rare, and it was owned by a rock and roll legend. But it almost seems too good to be true, and there's nothing that worries me more than that.
Jesse wasted no time diving into the guitar, inspecting the body, the finish, and the repairs. This 1941 Gibson SJ-200 had some crack repairs, common for guitars of its age, but everything had been restored with care. The sound? Amazing. It wasn't just a collector's item, it was meant to be played. But there was one question hanging in the air. Was it worth the $110,000 the seller was asking? Jesse's expertise was clear. The guitar itself was worth between $75,000 to $90,000 without factoring in the stills connection.
You do not see these. It's the 1941 SJ-200. It was their highest end guitar. They introduced this model in 1938, went to war, and they stopped making them. I mean, this is it. This is the holy grail.
The real kicker? Steven Still's ownership added $20,000 to $30,000 to the value. Rick's gut told him this was a rare gem, but was it worth paying top dollar? The guitar had the right pedigree, but could it truly justify a six-figure price? After some tense back and forth, Rick offered $80,000, a significant sum, but the seller wasn't willing to budge. They were firm on their price.
What's it worth?
It's an expensive guitar, man. I mean, the guitar on its own is probably worth anywhere between 75 and 90 grand just by itself, without the Steven Stills thing.
The negotiations continued. Finally, Rick managed to meet the seller halfway with a final offer of $85,000, a huge payout for a guitar, but a fair price considering the legendary musician's ownership. The seller agreed, and just like that, Rick became the proud owner of a guitar that had once been played by one of rock music's most influential figures.
I can do 90. That's gonna be my...
I think you can do 80.
I don't think I can do 80. I can do 90. That's my line, man.
Give you 85. I cannot go anymore. I can't.
I've gotta have 90.
Change your mind, call me.
For Rick, this wasn't just a transaction, it was a piece of history. The 1941 Gibson SJ-200 would be displayed in the shop, drawing in music lovers, collectors, and fans of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Next up, Rick is on the verge of taking a gamble on another collectible. This time, a pair of rare sneakers with a history all its own. Michael Jordan's Space Jam. Sneakers, $1 million for a piece of basketball history.
That sells sneakers, and they actually have a pair of shoes that Michael Jordan wore in the movie Space Jam. This warehouse is full of rare sneakers.
In Season 18's $1 million for Michael Jordan's Space Jam sneakers, Rick and Chumlee found themselves inside a Los Angeles warehouse packed to the brim with rare collector's sneakers. The warehouse wasn't just full of high-end kicks. It was home to some of the most sought-after shoes in the world. From Freddy Krueger dunks to Yeezys worn by Kanye West himself, this place had it all. But the real crown jewel? Michael Jordan's Space Jam sneakers, which, according to the seller, could be worth as much as $1 million.
And Chum has already found some other shoes that he says we should consider buying. Now we're waiting for Chum's expert, and hopefully Chum hasn't put me on a jam on this trip.
And then, just when things seemed to be taking shape, the expert arrived. Enter Easy Busta, a man who was as mysterious as he was knowledgeable. Known for his ability to spot fake Yeezys from a mile away, Easy Busta was the go-to guy when it came to sneaker authenticity. His masked face and secretive demeanor only added to the intrigue. He took a quick look at the Space Jam sneakers and confirmed what Rick and Chumlee were hoping to hear. They were real. The shoes weren't just authentic, they were iconic.
So first up, we got the Freddy Kruegers, one of the most sought-after dunks ever. Do you mind if I take a closer look at them?
By all means.
All right, so let's see. Here we can tell that the shoes are brand new. There's no heel drag, and I mean, this is definitely an authentic pair, and they look amazing. I love this shoe.
As the expert inspected the sneakers, the value of these shoes became even clearer. The Space Jam Jordans were more than just memorabilia, they were cultural icons. Rick was sold on the authenticity, but now the question was, how much was this incredible piece of history worth?
Okay, let's take a look.
I've actually seen these once before and it took my breath away.
Oh my goodness. Rick, Michael Jordan wore those in one of the most iconic movies ever, Space Jam.
Easy Busta didn't hold back. He boldly estimated the sneakers could fetch up to $1 million, considering their connection to Jordan, the movie, and their increased value due to recent interest from collectors and the success of the Last Dance documentary, which skyrocketed Michael Jordan's memorabilia prices.
Just the fact that Space Jam is the highest grossing basketball movie of all time, and also The Last Dance did come out, which made all of Michael Jordan's memorabilia just go through the roof. I can see these selling for upwards of $1 million.
Rick, always a tough negotiator, wasn't about to throw out $1 million offer without knowing the full story. But as he mulled over the offer, Chumlee was already talking himself into a deal. Chumlee, who'd never been shy about making big moves, was intrigued by the potential payoff, but unsure about the exact valuation. Still, Rick had an offer ready, $300,000. He wasn't an expert in sneakers, but he was willing to take a shot at the deal. However, $300,000 wasn't even close to the right price. He'd have to do better than that.
I don't know enough about the sneaker business. Too much for me.
I mean, you can at least make the guy an offer.
I mean, I'd offer him like 300 grand because I just don't know enough about shoes.
Rick wasn't completely discouraged, though. He'd seen the value of celebrity memorabilia firsthand, and the Space Jam Jordans were a priceless piece of history. In time, the right buyer would come along. Whether it would be for $1 million or something even higher remained to be seen. Nevertheless, Rick switched his attention to another fascinating pair of shoes.
Oh, those are cool. So would you take like $55,000 for them?
No.
What would you take?
70 grand's a great deal. That's family love price.
60?
5.
Can we meet at 62?
Okay. Cool.
Right deal, 62 grand.
Okay.
Coming up next, Rick gambled on a gold coin, and it would cost him millions of dollars. Yeah, Rick, who normally wouldn't even touch a deal north of $100K, got burnt this time. And it actually cost him a lot. The 1933 Double Eagle coin, Rick's $30 million gamble.
Of coin collecting. The 1933 Double Eagle $20 gold piece. And it was auctioned off in 2021 for almost $19 million.
Coins don't usually make Rick's heart race, but when a 1933 Double Eagle $20 gold coin walked into the shop, it was a different story. This coin was considered the holy grail of American coinage. After all, it had a story so wild that it could have come straight out of a spy novel. The 1933 Double Eagle had been suppressed by the government, illegally circulated, and ended up as one of the rarest, most valuable coins in the world, worth a jaw-dropping $30 million. And now, it was right in Rick's wheelhouse.
I'm about to see the most expensive coin in the world. Kind of nervous. And so that's it, huh?
This is it. Like to see it?
I would love to see it.
Okay.
Nice little light didn't shine out when you open the bag.
In Season 22's over $30 million for a coin, Rick was faced with a deal that would be a game changer for the shop. The seller rolled in this $20 gold coin, which had only a handful of copies that had survived the Gold Confiscation Act of 1933, issued by President Franklin Roosevelt. Originally minted during the Great Depression, the coin was supposed to be melted down and destroyed. But in a stroke of luck or misfortune, depending on your perspective, one coin slipped through the cracks, now worth an amount that could buy you a mansion, a yacht, and still have enough to retire comfortably.
We have a 1933 Double Eagle $20 gold piece. People still consider it the most beautiful coin ever. Teddy Roosevelt thought all of our coins were ugly.
He had a point. He wanted the best. He wanted the best design of a coin.
Rick was fully aware of the historical significance of this coin. Created as part of a coin redesign under President Teddy Roosevelt's administration, the Double Eagle was supposed to be a symbol of national recovery. But when Roosevelt became president in 1933, the country was deep in the Great Depression, and he passed the Gold Confiscation Act. With the stroke of a pen, Roosevelt made it illegal for private citizens to hold gold in the form of coins, bullion, or certificates. The mint was ordered to destroy all 450,000 of these coins, but some made it out illegally. The coin that Rick was now facing had made its way through a fascinating series of events, including smuggling, royal collectors, and FBI sting operations. It wasn't just about the gold, it was about the story behind the coin.
Originally, if you possessed one of these things, you were going to go to jail because the government said they were all stolen.
Yes, the government has taken possession of every coin that's ever come out. This is the only one that they've legalized to be owned.
The legal battle for the coin dragged on for years, but ultimately, it was determined that this single coin could legally be sold. And in 2021, it was auctioned for an astonishing $18.9 million, the highest price ever paid for a coin. Now, the owner was looking for $30 million for this single piece of history. The seller's representative was firm about the price. They were looking for over $30 million, and they weren't budging. For any serious collector of American coins, owning the 1933 Double Eagle was akin to owning the Mona Lisa in the art world. Irreplaceable and priceless. The problem, of course, was that not just anyone could afford it. This was a deal meant for the ultra-wealthy. In fact, the coin had become more than just a collectible. It had become a status symbol.
2 coin dealers were arrested for being involved in it, trying to sell the coin. And then for many years, there was legal action. And the end result was that the coin was legal to be sold and to be legally owned.
Rick wasn't about to make an offer without bringing in some heavy hitters. He called in Jeff Garrett, an expert who had decades of experience with coins, to take a closer look. Jeff confirmed what Rick already knew. The coin was a gem. It was in immaculate MS-65 condition, nearly flawless, and its story unmatched. No other coin in the world had such a rich and controversial history. It had been the subject of legal action, had been stolen by the government, and was now the most coveted coin in the world. But still, even with all of that, the price was high. Rick had to weigh the potential payoff against the risk. The coin could appreciate in value, or it could end up sitting in a vault, its value frozen in time.
Okay, yeah, let me take a closer look. The coin is, fabulous. It's also in amazing condition. It's MS-65, which is gem condition. Just basically the way it was made with a few little bag marks. Authenticity is off the table. It's definitely for sure real.
Rick made a call to a potential buyer who had expressed interest, a billionaire coin collector, and came back with an offer, $25 million. But as the seller's representative made it clear, that wasn't going to cut it. They were firm on $30 million and wouldn't accept anything less. Rick was left with a tough decision. This was a piece of history that could change the pawn shop's reputation overnight, but the price was steep. Still, Rick knew he couldn't settle for less. The uniqueness of this coin, the fact that it was the only legal 1933 double eagle in existence, made it worth every penny. But it wasn't going to be cheap.
He's willing to do $25 million. That includes my small commission, and that's what he's offering.
Look, the coin market has increased so much. There's so many new collectors. Here's the ultimate trophy, and look, it's a nice offer. I will say, anytime there's an 8-figure offer on a coin.
In the end, the deal didn't go through. The seller walked out with the coin, still holding out for a buyer willing to meet their price. For Rick, it was a missed opportunity, one of the biggest he'd ever faced. But at the same time, he knew he'd be ready if the coin came around again. The 1933 double eagle wasn't just a coin. It was a storybook of mystery, intrigue, and high-stakes drama that no other coin could match. For Rick, it was a reminder of the history that drives the collectibles world, and why sometimes you can't put a price on history.
All right, thank you so much for you letting me take a look at it. Pretty impressive. Okay, yeah.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Put it away. See, not in my hands. You have it.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
all the luck in the world with it.
Great, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for looking at it.
From sketches that shaped childhood imaginations to guitars that rocked entire generations, Rick Harrison has gambled big, but always with purpose. Sometimes it's about profit, other times it's about preserving pieces of American culture, and once in a while it's just about the thrill of owning something no one else can. And who knows what the next big deal will be, because in the world of Pawn Stars, anything and everything has a price.